You know the superhero characters that look like they have random oversized muscles everywhere? I always thought this is just comic book exaggeration until I studied the leg and realized they actually might have a point. So what exactly makes the upper leg so complex? The upper leg contains some of the biggest muscles we have. We have the quads here on the front, the glutes and the hamstrings on the back, and the adductors on the inside. Let's have a closer look on how they are built and what we need to consider when drawing them. Starting with talking about butts. We have two main muscles here, the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius. The gluteus medius sits on top and connects to the ilium of the hip bone and to the femur here on top. The gluteus maximus sits right next to it and is actually the biggest muscle of the human body when considering thickness rather than surface area. That title goes to the latissimus. The gluteus maximus is attaching to the hip bone and the tailbone on one side and to the femur on the other side, as well as to the iliotibial band, which is a long band that runs along the side of the leg, and we will talk about it later in the video. When drawing the butt, we can simplify those muscles with a set of ellipses, just like a little butterfly. For females, this butterfly tends to be larger, since they usually have more fat and a wider pelvis. About half of the butt thickness is fat, which also causes the gluteal fold to sit slightly below the muscles. Now, let's move to the front of the leg, to the thighs, which have two key main muscles, the quads and the sartorius. The quads, or quadriceps femoris, is a group of 4 muscles. Only 3 of them are superficial, so we only need to worry about those 3. All 3 of those muscles lie next to each other and share one tendon above the kneecap. On the inside, we have the vastus medialis, which is the lowest of the 3 and attaches to the femur. On the outside, we have the vastus lateralis, which attaches a little bit higher than the vastus medialis, also on the femur here. In the center, we have the rectus femoris, which starts even higher and runs along the femur until it attaches to the hip bone here at the top. The quads are an asymmetrical muscle, which we can simplify into a teardrop shape. Then we split it into equal thirds, and after that we give them a more natural shape by considering their attachment heights. Those different attachment heights are what cause the strange shape we see when the quads are heavily developed. Look at these bodybuilder images. Once you know how they are built, you can clearly see why they form these odd shapes. It's important to understand how the quads are wrapping around the femur and how the varying sizes affect the overall shape of the leg. But let's move on to another important muscle of the leg, the sartorius. It is the longest muscle of the human body, running diagonally over the thigh. It starts up here at the hip bone and running in an S-like shape down to the inner side of the knee and then attaches to the tibia. Let's add this to our drawing. Starting here at the top, crossing over our teardrop shape and ending on the inside of the knee. That wraps up the front of the legs for now. We will come back later when we're talking about the adductors. For now, let's turn the leg around and look at it at its back, the hamstrings. They are the biceps of the leg, defined by 4 main muscles, but they are usually hard to see. Most of the time, we only notice their tendons at the back of the knee. Starting with the outside, we have the biceps femoris, which comes in 2 forms, a long head and a short head. The short head lies behind the long head, so we don't really need to worry about it that much. The long head attaches to the hip bone at the top and to the top of the fibula at the bottom. Next to it, in the middle, we have the semitendinosus, which attaches also to the hip bone at the top and to the tibia on the bottom. And right next to it sits the semimembranosus, which has the same attachment points as the semitendinosus. When sketching these muscles, I like to think of them in a tooth-like shape with the roots forming the tendons behind the knee. Then I like to split the shape in 3 parts, where the two parts on the inner side are bigger than the part on the outside. Let's head back to the front and take a look at the adductors. They are 4 muscles that wrap around the inside of the leg. At the front, we have the pectineus and the adductor longus, both attaching to the hip bone and to the femur. Next, we have the gracilis, that is another long and thin muscle that runs along the sartorius and attaches right next to it at the inner side of the knee. And finally, the biggest of the group, the adductor magnus. It runs from the hip bone along the femur with several attachment areas. It has this really interesting muscle shape. It somehow flips around a little bit. The adductors tend to have more fat than other leg areas, which softens their silhouette. That's actually great for us artists because we don't really need to worry that much about their exact placement. And that's why when I draw the adductors, I usually just continue to draw the leg silhouette and then refine its shape by filling in the volume of the muscles. Now that we covered the inner side of the leg, let's head over to the outer side. This area seems to be subtle, but it has its own important structure, the tensor fascia latae and the iliotibial band. This band attaches to the hip bone here on top and runs along the side of the leg down to the outside of the knee where it attaches to the tibia. Its main function is to stabilize the knee. 2 things are especially important. First, it merges here with the gluteus maximus. And second, it sometimes creates a dent on the vastus lateralis when looking at it from the side. More importantly is this small muscle here at the top. It's the tensor fascia latae, or TFL for short. It covers some part of the quads here at the front, and in females this muscle is usually not very visible because it's mostly hidden by fat again, and even on bodybuilders it's more subtle. So from front and the back, the iliotibial band rounds out the leg silhouette. So from the front we just need to consider here that it covers the quads a little bit, and overall it just smooths out the overall silhouette of the leg. Okay, understanding how all these muscles connect and overlap has changed how I draw legs. Instead of just copying outlines, I now see the leg of a collection of volumes that flow into each other. So next time you see one of those over-the-top superhero legs, it might still look ridiculous, but at least now you know there's real anatomy logic behind all these random muscle bulges. Which leg muscle do you find hardest to draw? Share it in the comments. I'm curious if anyone else struggles with the same ones. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more anatomy guides. And check out my other videos on drawing the muscles of the body. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.